Okay, today we're going to talk about some problems that we find in section 2.4, our modeling with quadratic equation section. And our first problem, we're given the vertex and a point on the line. It says that it passes through this point, -7, -15, and we want to write the equation of the line. So if we go back to our vertex form, we have a times x minus h squared plus k. Well, we know the vertex is -5, 9, so we can plug that in for h and k. So we would have a times x minus a -5, so there's our x plus 5, plus 9. So notice we have three variables, y, a, and x, and we want to solve for a. So we need another coordinate, an x and a y. Sometimes we'll actually see it on the graph. They'll show us a picture. Here they give us the point, our x and y coordinate. So we're going to substitute -15 for y, -7 for x, and notice we're left with just the one variable. So we subtract 9 from both sides, we get -24. -7 plus 5 is -2. And so we end up with -2 squared, which is 4. And so we divide both sides by 4, and we get a is -6. So now we have our equation, y equals -6, x plus 5 squared plus 9. So that's the equation, or the quadratic equation specifically, that passes through the point -7, -15, and has -5, 9 as its vertex. Okay. The second question, they give us x-intercepts and a y-intercept. So here we would use intercept form, which would be a times x minus, I'll call that p, and x minus q, where p and q are the x-intercepts. So here we have 9 and 1. So we have a times x minus 9 and x minus 1. So similar to the previous problem, we have three variables, y, a, and x, and we need an x and a y, so we're going to use our y-intercept. So -18 equals a, 0 minus 9 times 0 minus 1. -9 times -1 is a positive 9, so we have 9a, and so a is -2. So our equation is -2 times x minus 9 times x minus 1. So again, in all of these scenarios, you really need to look at what information you're given, what form fits that. And so here's our intercept form, here's our vertex form. If you're given 3 points, then you would use your standard form and plug them in for x and y, and you would have 3 equations and 3 variables and use the elimination method. So again, it all depends on the information you're given. Let's look at one more problem, and this is a word problem. And here what we're given is, I'm going to get this a little bit closer, and there we go, get that nice and focused. So here we have a table where each of these represents years. So in years 0, and it tells us it's the price of gold in dollars per ounce. And here are the different figures. And we want to write in a quadratic equation to fit that. And then we're going to use the quadratic equation to estimate or predict the price of gold in year 10. So here we are, we have our graphing calculators, turn them on, and we're going to enter these values for each of those 6 years into our calculator. So hopefully you can follow along. We're going to go to Stat, Edit, and notice here we have our L1 and our L2. And if that doesn't come up, you can always or if you're having any issues, you can always clear out and start all over again. And one of the ways to do that is to hit second, and down here above the plus sign, you see memory. And we're going to reset, and as long as you don't have games and programs that you care about, which I don't, so I'm going to reset. I'm going to arrow over to reset all. and I have to go down and say, yes, I want to reset all. And you see it takes a couple of seconds. It's telling me that it's resetting. And then it's going to give me, hopefully any second here, an all clear. Take a little bit longer than I had anticipated. There we go. All right, so now everything is cleared out. So I'm going to go back, stat, edit, and so L1, we're going to put all of our X values. So the years 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I hit the right arrow and it takes me to the top. So year 0 was 603.46. We have 695.39, 871.96, 972.35, 1024.53, and finally 1571.52. So now I have my data in there for each year. So I'm going to go back to the home screen. And now I want to come up with the quadratic equation. So we hit stat, arrow right over to calc. And I want the quadratic equation to fit this. Hit quadratic reg, or quadratic regression. And now I have to hit enter again. And there's our equation. So we're going to go to 3 decimal places. So over here, I'm going to write that out. We have 28.17. I'm going to go 4. I'm going to round. X squared plus 45.648x plus 617.488. Okay, so now we're going to use this to predict year 10. So here's what I'm going to do. Rather than type all of these figures into y equals, if I go to y equals, from here I can hit stat, calc, the quadratic regression, and enter. Oh, no, that didn't work. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's do that. So from y equals, we go vars, then down to statistics, over to equation. And now when we hit enter here for the regression equation, it's going to take this equation and it's going to automatically put us into the y equals. Okay, so let me do that again in the y. In fact, I'll just clear it out and show you that again. So we go stat. I'm sorry, no. Let's see, back to y equals. We go vars for variables, then down to statistics, over to equation, and hit enter. So now I want to substitute 10 in for x. So I'm going to go variables, y variables, function, and the equation's in y1. So really what I'm doing is function notation. And so this is asking me to find y1 of 10. And so y of 10 is $3,891.35. So we don't round up there because we've not reached that next penny. So here's how we can use our calculators, do what we call regression analysis, specifically quadratic regression, come up with an equation to fit our data, and use that to predict what is going to happen in the future. Hope that helps, and we'll see you real soon.